And when you don't regret the tattoo in the morning, that's how you know it's love. Hey kids, welcome to the Far Out Podcast, the Valentine's Day edition. And what better way to spend this holiday than by taking someone you love to the movies? Yes, my mother and I went to the movies over the holiday and we saw Captain America Brave New World. But I'll get into that a little later. Speaking of movies as well, I also finished a film that I had started via streaming. It was a sports movie, but it has to do with a sport that doesn't always get a lot of coverage in terms of movies, that being tennis. But like I said, that'll come a little later in the show. What I want to start the show off with also has to do with movies and sports as well, but that's referring back to the Super Bowl, the superb owl as it was, that just happened a few weeks ago. I want to talk about that and the abysmal lack of coverage regarding one of the biggest films coming out later this year, that being Superman. Yes, kids, if you've listened to any episode of the Far Out podcast recently, you'll know that Superman is my most anticipated film of the year. I have talked about it a lot already, and I'll talk about it even more as the movie gets closer. Again, it comes out this July, and the Super Bowl is known as a huge event, not just for sports, but also for presenters to put advertisements up on the biggest stage available. And if you listen to last week's episode of the podcast, I broke down that how a 30-second ad at the Super Bowl, regardless of what you are, movie, entertainment product, sports drink, doesn't matter, for 30 seconds of airtime at the Super Bowl, it was $8 million. And so I get it. Not every product or movie will want to, shell out that money to get that kind of coverage, despite the Super Bowl being the stage that it is. But I thought for certain that Warner Brothers and DC would give that kind of love to Superman because Superman is not only a big movie coming out later this year, but when you think of superheroes, I mean, when someone says, what is a superhero or what do you think a superhero is? I think arguably to this day that Superman is still the quintessential character. I think someone could easily identify Superman as being the quote unquote superhero, the literal poster boy for that genre. Some might say it's Batman, others might say, thanks to the Marvel movies or thanks to the Avengers movies, that it's now Iron Man or Captain America. I would accept that as well. Some might say Spider Man. But Superman is still to this day one of the largest characters in all of entertainment. And I thought for certain that he would have a presentation at the Super Bowl, again, on the biggest screen possible, because he has a movie coming out later this year. I had been tipped off via the news and the trades that this perhaps was not the case, that Warner Brothers and DC were not going to do a Super Bowl. And frankly, I didn't believe them because, like I keep saying, this is the biggest stage for you to put your product out there, and they have the money to do it. So I watched the Super Bowl, and Superman was nowhere to be found. What I had also heard was that instead of doing the Super Bowl, Superman was going to advertise via the Puppy Bowl. And if you don't know what that is, it's essentially Animal Planet's answer to the Super Bowl. When the NFL Network has the big game going on, prior to that event, Animal Planet, that network, that channel, will run what's called the Puppy Bowl, which is essentially uh, exactly as it sounds. It's two teams, air quote teams, of dogs, puppies that play in a football branded arena, or a playpen, and they have chew toys that look like footballs and so on and so forth. And it's fun. It's really easy TV. It's made for the whole family, and it's something that I think, look, if you're looking forward to this day of television that is the Super Bowl broadcast, but you're not into sports, I think this is something that families and kids can literally lean back and relax and check out as well, just to kind of feel that sense of inclusion. And it's fun. It's cute. Like I said, it's very easy to watch, very digestible, and all that good stuff. And I had heard that Superman was going to potentially skip the Super Bowl and go towards the Puppy Bowl, which makes sense on paper, kind of. Again, I think it was a missed opportunity to not present Superman at the actual game itself. But with them going towards the Puppy Bowl, this does make sense because in the literal movie of Superman, there is Superman's dog known as Krypto. And if you've watched the Superman trailer, you know that Krypto's there. We fully see him. He's a white dog who can run really fast, and I'm sure has a big, strong bite and a loud bark and the whole deal. And he even has a freaking red cape, just like his own owner. He has his own cape that blows in the wind and stuff, and it's cute. It's adorable. It's meant to give this kind of joyful, childlike wonder. The fact that Superman would have a dog at his side that he can play with and fight crime with. And so Krypto, the super dog, will be in the Superman movie coming out later this year. And so that was the marketing bend that Warner Brothers and DC decided on for their upcoming movie, which again on paper makes sense because you're playing to the pet audience, but most people watching this movie are going to go for the character of Superman, not so much Krypto. Krypto is more or less just icing on the cake, but whatever. So I had heard that, hey, Superman is going to skip the Super Bowl, but they will do some kind of advertisement, some kind of presentation at the Puppy Bowl. So I go, okay. So as I'm watching the pregame for the Super Bowl, I'm flipping back and forth to the Puppy Bowl, via my phone. I'm checking its coverage and whatnot. And there was essentially no presentation of Superman either at the Puppy Bowl. There was a chyron of sorts, a lower bottom off to the right, lower corner, just kind of banner frame type thing. It's one of the things, where you're watching a show and it'll say like tune in later tonight for Modern Family coming on, 8 p.m. It's just a quiet, silent advertisement that's literally small. It's just a small fraction of the screen. And that was what I saw of Krypto. And I thought, okay, this might be a teaser to a teaser, reminding people to, hey, keep watching the Puppy Bowl because there's going to be some new snippet of the Superman movie, more than likely featuring Krypto at the center. That never came. That the lower chyron, the animated picture that was essentially just on the screen for a few seconds during the Puppy Bowl, that was it. That was all that there was. And then later, James Gunn, the director, the head of DC Studios, he released a picture of Krypto the Superdog, just looks like he's flying. And then he also did this kind of not really a teaser, more just kind of this explainer video. It was a video of himself and talking about how the inspiration to include Krypto in the Superman movie came from his own rescue dog that he himself owned. And so he was just talking about his appreciation of animals and how we as people should consider donating to shelters and potentially adopting a pet of our own. So it was a nice message, but essentially Superman, the movie, the property, the character, Krypto, the character, it was missing from both the Super Bowl and the Puppy Bowl. And I think this was a huge mistake. I think this was a really, really big mistake. Despite my excitement for the movie and despite my love of that Superman trailer, you only get one chance to do this kind of presentation because, there's only one Super Bowl in the release year of your movie. Yes, it's expensive, but if you're not going to play to the actual bowl, to the game itself, then sure, fine, put all your chips in on the Puppy Bowl. Okay, spend some money there too. If the Super Bowl costs 8 million for 30 seconds, I'm going to just take a shot in the dark and say the Puppy Bowl costs 1 million for 30 seconds. And they didn't even do that. Again, they paid for this lower chyron type thing. And so there was literally, well, not literally, I mean, there was almost no attention given to Superman in either of these two big games, both big games, you know what I mean? So that to me is a big issue. Again, I think that they missed a golden opportunity to present Superman to the biggest audience available in terms of TV watching. Again, I get it. We live in an era where everyone has a smartphone. We have, permanent access to the internet. Most people watch stuff on their phones more than they do with their TVs anyway. Funny enough, though, as I just said that, I did read a study that potentially more people are watching YouTube on their TVs versus their phones, but whatever. But the point I'm making remains the same, is that, we live in a very on the move, if it's not on my phone, forget about it type of era. And so, you know, what's the difference than just uploading another trailer, or even another crypto spot to your phone that can just circulate via Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff? And I get that that is a valid argument, but again, people tune in for the Super Bowl because if you're not watching for the game, you're watching for the movies and the funny commercials. And there were funny commercials. There was, a Dunkin' Donuts ad and a Grubhub ad and some beer commercial. And I can even pull those off of memory because those commercials were so identifiable. They were so entertaining that I can just pull them from the dome that these took place. And I would guarantee you that if Superman had a presentation at the Super Bowl, we'd still be talking about it. So again, Superman comes out in less than 5 months, or right around 5 months now, because we're going into the back half of February, and that movie comes out in July. So, will the movie survive? Will it live despite not being at the Super Bowl? Absolutely, it's still going to make a lot of money, you know, and really, from a financial perspective, they did save money. They saved $8 million by not going to the Super Bowl. But I think it was a big mistake to not be present at the actual bowl itself. And I think it was another big mistake to not be present at the Puppy Bowl when I had heard that in lieu of going to the Super Bowl, the Puppy Bowl and Animal Planet was going to be where Superman might land with Krypto Spot. Okay, so with that out of the way, with me talking about that, there is potential for this to actually rear its ugly head again, because you have to remember uh, the Supergirl movie comes out in 2026. That comes out in June 2026. And I wonder now, with the precedent set that DC and Warner Brothers doesn't necessarily feel like they have to put their stuff front and center at the Super Bowl, I wonder then if the Supergirl movie would skip it next year as well. And I have some thoughts. There are a few factors on that as well. Um, Supergirl does come out in June of 2026 versus July, so there is a literal month's difference in terms of time separating from the Super Bowl to the actual release of the film. So that might affect their decision to or to not put a spot out. In fact, I actually think that bodes well for us getting a Supergirl spot, considering how close it is to the actual release. There's also the factor, too, that I've heard that the character of Supergirl will actually make her debut in the Superman movie this July. So there's potential that they could build on that momentum as well, despite it being several months difference as well. But I also think that um, you know no shame to the character, and I'm not trying to make a statement by any means when I say this. I'm truly not. But Supergirl is not as widely known as Superman, and that's not oh, because she's a girl. No, that's stupid. There's no point to that kind of argument at all. It's not because she's a girl. It's not because she's a woman or anything. It's just when you think of the super characters, when you think of the Krypton characters, the leaders of the DC slate of characters, you think Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, so on and so on. And so Supergirl, while an awesome character and while has had a larger fan base thanks to her presentation on TV via her own show on the CW network, she's not as widely known as the character of Superman. And so there's more reason for her to get this kind of exposure now via the Super Bowl. So I think Supergirl will be present. I think that film will be present at the 2026 Super Bowl. But now it wouldn't shock me knowing that Superman missed out on his own. Do I think Supergirl could have a spot at the Puppy Bowl in 2026? I highly doubt it. I don't know if they would do the same formula again with her having her own super pet. I don't know if Superman and Supergirl would co-parent, co-own Krypto the Superdog. I don't know because uh, there is a potential problem with this being really derivative of each other. Like, we're gonna have Superman in July, and then 11 months later, in June 2026, we're gonna have Supergirl. For me, I'm gonna eat that up with a fork, knife, and a spoon, and a side of butter. But for some film fans, they might be like, Supergirl? We just had a Superman movie. And she has her own Superdog too. I just saw Krypto. Is that a valid argument? I think so. It's not the strongest argument, but I think there is an argument to be had there to where it's like it is kind of odd. I agree. I think it's kind of odd that Superman and Supergirl are releasing so close to one another. I would have thought that for sure James Gunn and DC would have wanted to put some other films uh, in between them as a literal rest period of that kind of superhero fare. But I guess not. It sounds like they're really going to bookend each other. But that actually offers a semi seamless segue because I want to talk about other DC movies coming up. That being the Clayface movie, which is scheduled to release on September 11th, 2026. It's kind of a ominous release date for obvious reasons, but that's what's on the calendar right now, so we're going to go with that. But I've heard that the Clayface movie is moving along pretty swimmingly in terms of production. I've heard that the script is finished, that they like the pitch regarding this film, and that now the heads of the studios, being DC and Warner Brothers, are now meeting with potential directors to attach to this project, and the quote unquote front runners off of a short list appear to be James Watkins, who is the director of Speak No Evil, and Jeff Wadlow. Excuse me if I mispronounce either of those names incorrectly, but he is the director of Truth or Dare, and they are considered the quote front runners to get the directing job for the Clayface movie, and that report comes from Deadline. And I don't know if this report is accurate or not, but I tend to believe it is because I trust Deadline as an outlet, and I've also seen this report circulated on other channels that I also follow as well. And if this is the quote unquote shortlist for the movie, if these are the pair of frontrunners being eyed for the Clayface job, uh, good. I'm glad that the project is moving forward, but I really have no background knowledge on either of these directors. I have not seen either of those movies mentioned, nor have I seen any other off of their filmographies because I'm not a horror guy. I don't like scary stuff. I'm very particular about that. However, it sounds like the Clayface movie will have a type of scary or horror type of lean, in which case this will be one of the films that makes an exception for me to go out to the theater because I'm not going to skip this one just because it's scary. What I've also heard about the Clayface movie is that it is described as a Hollywood horror story that follows a B-list movie star who injects himself with a substance to keep himself relevant. So, yes, the potential plot of the Clayface movie is that there's this star who's probably falling out of favor with the audience, with the critics, with the producers and whatnot because he's too old and maybe he's getting quote unquote ugly, and so now he's gonna inject himself with this chemical that can maybe reshape his face and try to make him appear younger and more vibrant, and that's very accurate to one of the portrayals of Clayface, at least one that I'm familiar with. I think that was the one that was done in the Batman animated series. I think that also runs parallel with the representation of Clayface that we saw in the Batman Arkham games. And even if it's not, I really like this idea for the Clayface movie. I think that you could do a real kind of Joker esque film with it. I think that there's a lot of potentially good body horror. You can do a good examination of someone's psyche. How far would they go to chase fame and have all that glory? And I go back to Joker because if you think about that Joker movie, just the standalone movie that came out with Joaquin Phoenix in the role, that was a movie that yes had the color palette and the shine of a DC movie on it, but uh, that movie was really an examination of society. What happens to a person when they get beaten down socially in terms of their job, their love life, and they just get rejected from society? What happens to a person who breaks mentally after all that pressure? In the Joker movie, this person becomes the Joker. He becomes the DC villain that we all know and love, who fights Batman and you know creates crime in Gotham. I think if you were to do a Clayface movie in the same vein of that kind of filmmaking, I think this could be really special. Now, what I also heard regarding the Clayface film is that J.A. Bayona was eyed to direct, but I don't know if he passed or not. I don't know if he accepted, but apparently he was on the short list as well, and he was a potential front runner as well, but he reportedly passed. That also comes from Deadline with an amendment via the Hollywood Reporter. What I find interesting about that is that J.A. Bayona, for me, being the film fan that I am, he is the biggest of those three names. He's bigger than Watkins and Wadlow, because J.A. Bayona, though you may not know his name, he's made some movies that have gotten some real big appeal. One of them being he directed one of the Jurassic World movies. I think it was technically the second in Chris Pratt's trilogy, so overall the fifth Jurassic Park movie, and I believe that was called Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, I think, or Fallen World, something like that. Let me see here. Yes, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom from 2018. He directed that. I did not like that movie. That one made me upset as a fan of Jurassic Park. However, when you get a property like that, when you get a job like that, you really get a great understanding of the studio system. You really get to cut your teeth on something much more large and grandiose. That's not an art house feature. That's a big movie with a big cast, big premise, big stars, big budget, and big return on investment, because those Jurassic Park movies, they average nearly $1 billion each, which is why we're getting a freaking seventh one later this year, Jurassic World Rebirth. So J.A. Bayona, he's an experienced filmmaker. He's got the chops. Don't quote me on this as well, but I think at one point he was even attached to Star Wars. I don't know, that might have been Colin Trevorrow, who I think also had some work done with Jurassic World as well. I'm getting my Jurassic Park and my Star Wars is mixed around. But anyway, J.A. Bayona has experience making high-profile movies, and I think Clayface would be high-profile adjacent, because while the Clayface movie is perhaps more of an intimate story, and I've heard it has a small budget, or smaller budget in terms of movies. I heard it has a $40 million budget. This is still a DC character. The DC is a huge brand. This is also a character that is related to Batman, and I strongly believe that in the Clayface movie, we may get a hint or even an appearance of Batman. And so this project, while perhaps small in scale and small in terms of budget, is still very large in the world that's going to be made in. And if Bayona passed, that's a little concerning. And if he gave a pitch that perhaps the heads of DC Studios did not agree with, that's less concerning, but still isn't real great. I'd rather have someone a little more experienced behind a project of this caliber. However, if they're going to get Wadlow or Watkins to direct this potentially, I don't think it'll be as big of an issue. I mean, anyone can be a good filmmaker. In fact, James Gunn, who is now in charge of DC Studios, his background came in the horror genre as well, and he went on to make the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. So just because someone sticks in horror doesn't mean just because someone makes horror doesn't mean they'll have to stick with it. It's very easy to jump genres, and you also look at the directors of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, the Russo brothers. Those guys started out directing TV. They directed the comedy Community, which I think is really funny. And they went on to make Captain America: Winter Soldier, Civil War. They did Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame. So you got those guys coming from the world of TV into this huge, the biggest movies imaginable with Captain America and the Avengers, and they hit it out of the park 4 times in a row. So the fact that potentially there could be a smaller filmmaker attached to Clayface, you know, I guess that's fine. I just wish that in terms of if it were these three, I would feel most comfortable in J.A. Bayona's hands, despite him, making a Jurassic World movie that I didn't really care for. Again, what I think that is going to be done well with this Clayface movie is I think that the people behind it know this isn't going to be the biggest thing in the world. I don't think it'll be a blockbuster hit. It might be kind of a sleeper hit. But by keeping the budget relatively low, I mean, 40 million is a lot of money to anyone, but in terms of movies, that's quite low. By keeping that around 40 million, they'd only have to make back really around 100 to get that return on investment completely, because a good rule of thumb regarding filmmaking is that you have to make 3 times your budget to be quote unquote a success. And it doesn't matter what the critics say or the audience says. In terms of a financial return on investment, in terms of financial revenue, if you get 3 times your budget, you're normally in the green, because you have to put up the initial cost of the film, which again is 40 million. Most films have a very lucrative marketing budget, which can be around the actual film's budget itself. So again, 40 million to make, 40 million to market, but then also you have to factor in that the theaters get a cut of the box office revenue as well. That's around a third overall. And so really, for simplistic math, when you're trying to figure out, okay, will they make another whatever? Is this a success? If you Google a film's budget, and if you 3 times it, and if you can determine if the film made around 3 times its initial budget, then it'll usually end up working out well for the movie. So, with Clayface, 40 times 3 is 120 million. Do I think they'll spend 40 million on marketing? Maybe, maybe not. So again, you could shave this down to around 100 million. And so I think if a Clayface movie can go out and make $100 million minimum, I think that'll be a huge success for that movie and for the DC brand and the film slate as well. But I think that it'll have no problem getting to 100 million or more, because a good marketing campaign, a good trailer, a good poster can do wonders for your movie. So yeah, Clayface, it's coming together. It's being molded. There's a nice pun there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. That one can't arrive fast enough, and that comes out September 11th, 2026. Anyway, moving on. Yet another seamless segue. I want to talk about one of the movies that I watched recently, and it being the one that I just finished, that being the sport movie, the 2017 sport movie, which is Borg versus McEnroe. This is the tennis film that I alluded to earlier in the show. And this has to do with the tennis rivalry that took place between Bjorn Borg from Sweden and John McEnroe from America at the 1980 Wimbledon Championship. And this is a movie that I remember actually when it came out. I remember seeing the trailer, and I wanted to see it. I really did. But despite me seeing the trailer, I didn't realize it was more of a smaller film. It was more kind of a artsy awards contender type film, and it did not make its way to my theater circuit. And so I lost it. I missed out on it over the years. But I actually just found it via streaming. It's on Tubi, which is a free streaming service. You just have to deal with commercials, but it's free. It's just streaming with commercials. And Borg versus McEnroe is on Tubi now if you want to watch it. And I did not know what to expect regarding this film, because I remember the trailer vaguely that I saw in 2017, and now I'm watching it here 8 years later. But I'll just say this: this movie floored me. I loved this movie. And if you don't know anything about tennis, that's fine, because they do a pretty decent job explaining. Semi-decently. I actually could have used a little more help. But what's set up about the movie is that there's this rivalry, again, between Borg and McEnroe. And Bjorn Borg, the Swedish player, he's just this sentinel, this statue, this emotionless player with a lot of gravitas, and swag, and he's the golden boy. He's chasing yet another championship. He's going for his fifth Wimbledon championship in a row, which has never been done in terms of tennis, and so he's going for a record and all that stuff. And then you have John McEnroe, who is known as the American Rebel. He's chasing his first championship, but he's also someone who is the literal polar opposite of Borg, and that where Borg is stoic and patient and calm, McEnroe, him as a person, as a tennis player, is literally known for being rambunctious and having his outbursts. He's the kind of player that, you know, he would argue at the refs and at the line watchers, and he would say, "How is that out? You're out of your effing mind. Are you effing stupid? You hate me and I hate you." He's one of those guys. He was known to kind of rile the crowd up, and people, you know, hated him, but they also loved him. They loved to hate him, you know, because he, in a gentleman's type sport that is tennis, he is this wrecking ball, this sledgehammer of emotion and outbursts, and he's getting all these warnings and he's getting these penalties. And so you not only have two countries facing off in the Wimbledon finals, you also have literally two different kinds of personalities, two different ideologies facing off. And it made for some really riveting storytelling. But despite the movie overall being really, really good, what really made it stand out for me um, wasn't so much the story. It wasn't so much the acting, which there are incredible performances here. Uh, what I did not expect for it to really do for me in terms of this wow factor is uh, the color grading and the cinematography of this movie are exquisite. If nothing else, if you find this movie boring, if you didn't think it was that good, you cannot deny this film looks like a piece of art. This thing is colored so exquisitely, it's lit so well, and the cinematography is masterful. There's many top-down shots that capture the full tennis court as you watch a game being played, and then it can get really close and intimate, and on the players and on the rackets and on the balls and on the shoes that just give this level of emotion. But this film is really a piece of art here, and I loved it. You know, when you think of films, when you think of you know, presentation and who gets the credit and the applause, it's usually the actors. You know, and then only now are directors getting more credit. Of course, that's not always the case. You have to be a really, really big actor to get name recognition, but you think of like Denis Villeneuve with Dune, Christopher Nolan with the Dark Knight trilogy, Quentin Tarantino with Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, and so on and so forth. Um, you know, so you have the actors up front, of course, because they're on the posters, they do all the media circuits. Then you get to the directors. Then sometimes you'll get writers, sometimes they can get some attention as well. And now, well, actually, probably in terms of hierarchy, it probably goes musical score, you know, so a composer first, so that you have like a Hans Zimmer who makes like Man of Steel, the Dark Knight trilogy again, and then you got John Williams, who's done everything from Star Wars to Harry Potter, you know, and then moving down, then you get to the writers and so on and so forth. And then if you get lucky enough, if you're big enough, you get, you know, the cinematography. You get some love there to the more second unit and the lesser known aspects of making films. They don't get a lot of love. No one knows the name of a colorist for a movie. No one knows the name of a cinematographer for a movie. But in terms of Borg versus McEnroe, this movie about tennis, I think this is their film. I think the way it's shot, the way the colors pop, this film really, I think, lives and dies by its presentation. And then you bring in these great performances. And the gentleman in question that plays Bjorn Borg, again, pardon me, he's Swedish. He's played by a Swedish actor I've never heard of, whose name is, I'm going to mispronounce this, I'm very sorry. His name is Sever. It's SV, so Sever Gudensson. Again, pardon me for mispronouncing him. But then you have Shia LaBeouf, who is a much more known actor playing the American role. And I remember when I saw the trailer, he was the name that grabbed me because we, of course, know him from Transformers and so on and so forth as the lead in those films. But Shia LaBeouf, God bless him, he himself is prone to outbursts and being rambunctious and rowdy. He's not always known for his stoicism, and so this seemed like a perfect pairing. You have this guy who has a very volatile public image and public lifestyle himself, and now you're given a role to where you're embodying a character that's known for doing that on the tennis court. And so Shia LaBeouf gets a lot to play with as well, but I actually wish they gave him more to play with. I wish we could have seen more of him flexing his acting muscles as McEnroe. It's good what we see. I just wish there was more because, again, I think it was so perfectly casted. But what's also great about the film is that this is a really heavy handed drama that really examines both tennis players and what they have to do to quote unquote be the best, and how they're in the movie both Borg and McEnroe's idea of self worth is tied to perfection. And that presents a really interesting dilemma because while we're watching these two develop as tennis players, we get to see some of their background. We get to see the childhoods that they went through. You know, for Borg, funny enough, he was prone to outbursts as a kid, and nearly got himself banned from tennis. Then he finds the right coach, and as he develops as a tennis player, he learns how to get his emotions under control. He becomes this rock of a figure, you know. But he's forced to suppress his emotions to become the best that he is. And then you have McEnroe, who, as you examine him throughout the film, you see the typical "oh, my parents never loved me" thing, but it's like the parents, you either give 110%, you either get an A plus every time, or you fail. You know, if you ain't first, you're last. And so he is presented as this underdog facing this Goliath figure that is Borg. And despite McEnroe being uh, the rebel, the a kind of a antagonist type of figure to Borg, at least when I watched it, I was rooting for McEnroe. And I look, this is based on a true story, so it's a a biographical sports drama. I could have easily Googled the outcome of this Wimbledon championship, but I didn't. I literally wanted this film to teach me history as I watched it. And when I was watching the film and literally watching these two players go shot for shot, you know, in the tennis games, I was thinking, I don't know who's going to win. And I think I know who I want to win, it being McEnroe, but I don't know because I also feel for Borg as well, you know, and there's also times where I don't feel for Borg because he's such a perfectionist that he pushes people away, you know. And McEnroe, again, he's kind of a sympathetic character as well, but he's also much more rude and much more explosive. So it's a really interesting pairing of both actors and characters set up in this literal historical sports drama that exceeded my expectations. And again, uh, the whole drama of it all, the whole story, the whole execution is wrapped up and is presented so beautifully with these amazing colors and this amazing camera work and cinematography. And I'm really happy to say that uh, after all these years and finally getting to watch this film, Borg versus McEnroe exceeded my expectations, and I highly recommend you check it out. And it is available on the streaming service Tubi if you want to check it out for free. And so please go consider checking it out, and I hope you enjoy it if you do. Anyway, moving on, but keeping it with movies, I want to talk about some trailers, and I want to start this off with a discussion about the newest trailer, the first trailer really, for The Accountant 2. Yes, the sequel to the 2016 film, The Accountant. And yes, you heard that right, kids. A 2016 film, 9 years later, is finally getting its sequel in 2025. And they had a trailer and they had a poster, and I do not like either, to be honest. I'm not a fan of the trailer or the poster for The Accountant 2. However, despite me saying that, the whole reason why I wanted to talk about this on the show was because the 2016 film, The Accountant, the first one, is freaking awesome. It is a action thriller led by Ben Affleck that also stars John Bernthal, Anna Kendrick, J.K. Simmons, and essentially Ben Affleck plays the lead, who is someone who is on the spectrum. I believe he has autism of some sorts. Don't quote me on that. Yes, but I believe he's autistic, so he's on the spectrum, meaning that he is incredibly detail oriented and he's really good with numbers. And he becomes this kind of data cruncher, this accountant. He becomes this numbers figure for these huge accounts and for these very important people, which get him roped up into criminal underworlds and doing stuff for the mafia and other gangs and so on and so forth. And so he is this someone who's incredibly smart and detail oriented, but he also is really good with weapons and hand to hand combat. And he's kind of this uber smart hitman of sorts. And it's really tremendous. I really like this film. I remember when I first saw it, I thought this is amazing. Everyone should see this. Not a lot of people did. It was a modest success at best, and I think that's why it really drug its feet to get a sequel out. But again, 9 years later, we're now finally getting a sequel, so better late than never. However, the sequel in question, while I'm very much looking forward to it, I did not like this trailer, nor do I like its poster. I did not like the trailer because I thought it gave away too much. It's like a 3 minute long trailer. You know, it really overstays its welcome in my opinion, and I felt that it just revealed too much about the film. And the poster I found to be too simplistic to really be eye catching as well. But The Accountant 2, I'm gonna see it. I'm there for it. I love Ben Affleck. I love John Bernthal. Again, I think the first movie is tremendous. If you have not watched it and you're looking for a good action adventure, please consider watching it. And yeah, The Accountant is a really good film, and The Accountant 2 is coming out later this year. I believe it comes out in April, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, I again, better late than never when it comes to a sequel for The Accountant. And just before I hop off this, one of the reasons why I like The Accountant so much is because I think they had a pretty good tech advisor on this film. Much like how I think The Agency, that TV show, had a good tech advisor. The thing about The Account, and just again, this is just one detail that when I saw it, I went, someone knew what they were doing. Someone knew what they were talking about because think of you think of a sniper rifle. Okay, it's a gun with a long barrel and a huge scope that is capable of taking out people from very long distances. Okay, whatever. You know, yeah, they're pretty basic, big and sexy, and the whole deal. Then you get into these huge sniper rifles, one of them being a 50 caliber sniper rifle, 50 cal. Now again, you say, oh, sniper rifle, it's designed to take out soldiers, combatants. Okay, yes. Could a gun, could any gun take out an individual person? Yeah, sure, fine, whatever. But a 50 caliber sniper rifle is really more designed for vehicle damage. Its round is so massive and it shoots at such a velocity that it's really designed for anti-vehicle work. It's designed to take out engine blocks of cars. So it really bothers me in films when someone's working with what's obviously a 50 cal and they put it in the movie because, oh, this is a big gun and it's sexy. And yeah, it's a great looking piece of hardware, but it bothers me when this 50 caliber weapon, and just Google how big a 50 cal round is. It bothers me when they use that just on the ho hum infantry bad guys, the thugs and whatnot. So in The Accountant, they use this gun correctly. They use it to sabotage vehicles. Okay, so the spoiler for The Accountant, but Ben Affleck at one point he's using a 50 cal, takes out the engine block on a bad guy's vehicle. What does he do? He leaves the rifle. He ditches it and he approaches the vehicle on foot with now having the engine disabled. That's good tactics. That's using your hardware to the best of its ability. He can close the distance in with a sidearm and with a rifle, and then he gets into some good hand-to-hand combat there. And so just the fact that they had the wherewithal to use this huge sniper rifle for more of its intended purposes to take out a vehicle, I thought was a great testament to the film. And again, I think it's a real nice hat tip there to why The Accountant works so well. So yeah, The Accountant 2 comes out later this year. In April, I believe, and I'm looking forward to it, and I think you should too, despite it having a somewhat lackluster trailer. But don't take my word to the bank. I mean, I want you to listen to my opinions and do with that what you will. But I really want this show to be something more of an educational entertainment type thing. So I hope that despite me saying I didn't like the trailer, that you will then pause this episode or finish the episode and then go watch the Accountant 2 trailer and make up your own mind. I'm just here to spread the good news of Christ and talk about movies and books and whatever else interests me. So, yeah, the Accountant 2 coming out this April, and I can't wait. I just hope that they get out a little bit of a better trailer and a better poster between now and then. Anyway, moving on now, I want to talk about Captain America. We're very close, kids, to talking about Captain America 4 and my thoughts on that film. But what's funny is that I actually want to talk about what happened just prior to that film starting, that being the trailers that were shown for my Captain America 4 screening. There were some trailers that I'd never seen before. There were some trailers that I had seen before, and having it be in the movie theater just elevated the experience, the presentation of that trailer. First off, the Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning trailer. I've already seen it. It was at the Super Bowl. They had its presentation there too. But getting to see that on the big screen in front of Captain America 4, awesome. It elevated the movie for me. It got me more excited for the film. So Mission Impossible, that trailer was even better on the big screen. And very much keeping in line with that, the Superman trailer. Yes, kids, I'm going back to Superman. The trailer that I have watched several times already. I had not seen it on the big screen yet. And I got to see it before Captain America 4. And holy guacamole, that trailer blew me away. No shame in this, no lying, no denying. That trailer made me tear up. Seeing it on the big screen with the sound and and just the presentation and in that darkened room with all these people with my mom at my side, it got me misty-eyed. It got me misty-eyed. I'm thinking this is gonna be such a big movie, and for fans who are superhero fans and DC fans and they want to see this kind of film succeed, they want to see the superhero genre endure. This is teeing up literally the next 10 plus years of superhero movies now just tailored around the DC brand as opposed to Marvel. And I was thinking several things while watching the trailer. I thought, man, I didn't know it could look this good or sound this good. Man, this movie can't get here fast enough. Man, this is setting up a lot of different other things. But I also thought, this just gives me more movies to go see with my mom. You know, my mom and I go to the movies together all the time. That's what we do. Dads play catch with their sons or take them fishing. You know, mothers and daughters, they may talk makeup or go dress shopping or whatever. But for me, the thing that like my parents and I gravitated towards that my dad and I, we played Xbox together. We played Halo. Shout out Halo. And then my mother and I, we went to the movies together. And we do that to this day. And so getting to see Captain America 4 with her was awesome. But just sitting beside her in the theater and watching that Superman trailer and knowing that she'll be with me come July 2025, watching that movie with me as well. It just got me a little misty thinking about the future, and yeah, so I'm very much looking forward to the Superman movie, and boy, that trailer, I didn't think it could get any better, but it found a way. Also, keeping with trailers, there were a lot of trailers before this movie. The Thunderbolts trailer, the movie that I said I was not looking forward to very much in one of the earlier episodes of the podcast, Oh yeah, Marvel's Thunderbolts. I had not seen this trailer. I had purposely tried to, ignore it because I heard it kind of reveals a lot of the movie. So I saw it. I saw it kind of against my will, because if I got to pick, I wouldn't have seen it. But I had got to see it on the big screen in front of Captain America 4, and I'll be honest, it kind of elevated my opinion of the movie. I hate to say it, but I don't hate to say it. I'm excited to say I'm now looking forward to the Thunderbolts, and this is a testament to a good trailer. This is a testament to good marketing. This trailer that I saw on the big screen made me go from Thunderbolts, yeah, I'll see it, but remind me when it gets here. To now, I'm like, oh, that looks good. We got to write that down on the calendar. So yeah, the Thunderbolts trailer on the big screen was really good to see. Same thing with Fantastic Four. First steps, keeping with Marvel still. Fantastic Four, I was like, eh, eh, yeah, I'll see it, but remind me when it gets here. Then they show the Fantastic Four trailer. I had not seen this trailer either because I just wasn't too interested in it. Then I see it and I go, I get it now. A part of me for being late to this party, but I kind of understand the hype now, kids. So let's look forward to it. So yeah, getting to see the Thunderbolts trailer and the Fantastic Four trailer on the big screen, it made me excited for both those movies. And so now I'm very happy to say I'm looking forward to both of those. And yeah, bring them on. Uh, but, kids, there was a flip side to this coin because there was a trailer that played in front of Captain America, and I left going, okay. And that was the live action How to Train Your Dragon trailer, the for the upcoming one that comes out in June. I was looking forward to this film. I still am, but I saw the trailer and I was like, I don't know what it was because I understand it's retelling a very similar story, if not an actual shot for shot remake. I saw the Super Bowl teaser. I saw its poster, and I went, okay, yeah, I know what I'm getting. But for whatever reason, seeing the full length trailer, it just made me go, oh, yeah, okay, it's How to Train Your Dragon. It just looks live action. So I'm not saying it. Well, I wasn't. I was gonna say it just left me kind of neutral, but like I think it might have decreased my excitement a little bit, and I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know what it is because it had all the trimmings of How to Train Your Dragon. And it had all the cool shots and the familiar faces and the characters and the dragons galore, and it even had that awesome musical sting from the theme of the original animated feature. But yeah, for whatever reason, the How to Train Your Dragon trailer that played in front of Captain America, I was like, okay, Anyway, moving on. So yeah, again, really interesting that so many trailers got elevated for me seeing it in a movie theater, whereas How to Train Your Dragon kind of got decreased a little bit. But yeah, I'm still looking forward to that movie. But yeah, anyway, moving on now into the actual bread and the butter of uh, of this segment of the show here. I took my mom to the movies for Valentine's Day, and we saw Captain America: Brave New World. And I'm just gonna say up front, I like this movie. I actually liked it a lot more than I thought I would because I had heard from reviews, from film podcasts, and the stuff I saw on Twitter. I saw that this movie was good. That's it. Not great, not horrible. It was just good. It was okay to good, and the majority, and the closer it got to release to me seeing the film, I saw a lot more of a negative side of things. So this was like again a very much an okay to good roundup of coverage that I saw for the film. So I was like, well, okay, I like I don't need it to blow my socks off. I don't need an Avengers level spectacle piece. I would love that, of course, but like, I'll take good. I want a good time at the movie, so I said I'll take good, and I went in with kind of lower ish expectations, and this movie really exceeded them for me. I might be in the minority here. I'm not saying it's great, and the movie certainly has its faults, but I again, it really did exceed my expectations. I really enjoyed it. And I'm gonna get into spoilers, kids. So again, I should have said this up front, but you're catching it here now. My coverage of Captain America 4 will be spoiler heavy. So, again, kids, the film just came out. If you're looking forward to seeing the film and you don't want any additional, information on it, just skip this part of the video or turn it off or go see the film and then come back. It doesn't matter. But yes, I'm going to spoil Captain America 4 in my review of it. Okay, so again, I'm warning you, this is your last warning. There will be spoilers ahead for Captain America 4. Okay? All right. In 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Captain America 4. What I liked about this film, the action I thought was incredible. Getting to see Sam Wilson now inherit the mantle and the moniker of Captain America in both duty and responsibility and just flat out shield, I thought was awesome. He kicked some serious butt in this film. And there's one shot in question that really shows off his physical strength as a character because, again, compared to the last Captain America, Steve Rogers, played by Chris Evans, he's a super soldier. So he can run real fast, jump real high, and lift really heavy things. Sam Wilson, Captain America, played by Anthony Mackie, who now plays Captain America, who has inherited the shield. He's not a super soldier. He's just a dude. He's just a dude in a costume, much like Batman. He's just a regular fella. But there's one shot where it shows he's still really strong and really knows how to do stuff. Because at one point he smashes his elbow through a cinder block, and on any other given dude, that would shatter his elbow completely. But for Sam Wilson, and he picks up the pieces of a cinder block and starts smashing people with and throws the chunks at people. I dug it. I thought it was awesome, and he gets in a lot of good action. He really knows how to use the shield, lots of good flips and tosses and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed the action. There's a lot of good hand-to-hand stuff. Speaking of the action, I thought Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad and The Mandalorian, I thought he played a great villain named Sidewinder, who I'm not real familiar with, but I thought he had a couple of good action pieces as well. He was really fun to see. There's also the leader, which has okay. So kids, like this movie, Captain America 4 does so much legwork in this film. This film ties back into the Incredible Hulk film released in 2008. Okay, and most of you might not be aware of that film because that film came out the same year that Iron Man came out, which really started the MCU. When you think of the launch point of the Marvel universe that we now know and love today, it was Iron Man. Very shortly after that followed the film The Incredible Hulk. And the reason why that one's kind of forgotten is because it's very different in tone from other Marvel films, but it also has a different actor play the titular character. Before Mark Ruffalo became the Hulk that we now have going forward in these films, the Hulk was played by Edward Norton, but he did not go on to play the Hulk in any future movies, including the Avengers. And that's how the business works, kids. So anyway, that movie is very much forgotten, just because of the way it looks and sounds and feels and is cast and the whole deal. But they go back and they reference the Incredible Hulk film, and they go out of their way to tie up threads with that film. And I don't say that as a detriment to it. I actually really liked that. When they referenced the Incredible Hulk, I was like, holy crap. I was like, they are going deep into the well here. I mean, they are really just pulling out all the candy here. And so I thought that was great. And so one of the bad guys, his name is the leader. I forget the actor's name. I feel so bad because he got cut from Dune too. Um, yeah, I'm sorry. I'll probably look him up here while I'm talking. But yeah, the leader is in Captain America 4, and he is someone who, okay, so the Hulk, played by Mark Ruffalo, Bruce Banner, when he gets infected with gamma radiation, he becomes the Hulk, this unstoppable uh, rage monster. Whereas the leader in Captain America 4, when he gets infected with gamma radiation, he becomes uber smart. Oh, he's played by Tim Blake Nelson. Yes, excuse me. Mr. Nelson, if you're watching, I know that you are. Excuse me, I had to look up your name regarding Captain America 4. But yes, the leader is played by Tim Blake Nelson. So when he got infected with gamma radiation back in, or was it? He got infected. He might have got infected with the Hulk's blood. I can't remember. Anyway, he gets infected with some gamma something 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 something, and instead of making him a Hulk-like figure, it makes him incredibly smart and green, and his brain literally grows like out over his head. And so like the top of his head looks like this big green brain that's like slouching down the back of his head, and it's really good character design. He looks really grotesque, and he was a lot of fun to watch and see. So I was happy to have him in the film as well. And then of course you have the big bad, the literal big bad of the film, and that's Red Hulk, played by Harrison Ford. He plays uh, Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. Yes, kids, hence where we get the Thunderbolts from. He plays Ross, who becomes the Red Hulk, and getting to see the Red Hulk, very cool. I thought Harrison Ford did a great job of uh, his performance in playing someone who could quote unquote Hulk out and does Hulk out. I really enjoyed the fight that Red Hulk had with Captain America, who I want to call Captain Falcon because Sam Wilson, Anthony Mackie, he was formerly the Falcon, then he goes on to be Captain America. So I want to call him Captain Falcon, but I'm going to try not to. But yes, Captain America, he ends up fighting the Red Hulk. I think it's a really good fight. I think the look and design of the Red Hulk is really good. It's very distinguishable from the Incredible Hulk, not just in terms of the literal color of their skin, red versus green, but also just in terms of their size, their stature, and their facial shape. I think is really good as well. What else? What else did I like about this film? Um, yeah, good action, good performances, mostly. Yeah, mostly. What else? The leader. Yep, I said I like that too. There's some Black Widow stuff in here. There's a Black Widow-esque character, which I thought was all right. Didn't blow me away or anything, but it was cool. Oh, kids, pardon me. How could I forget? Uh, in this movie, in Captain America 4, they reference adamantium, which again, put your nerd caps on. If you don't know what adamantium is, that is the metal component that makes Wolverine's claws. So again, Wolverine from the X-Men, the shink, he got the metal claws on each hand there. That's the metal that coats his claws, that gives him the metal claws. And so, yes, they name dropped adamantium. And when that happened in the theater, I turned to my mom and I went, "Oh my gosh!" Because I was like, God, gosh, can you believe it? The X-Men see Wolverine with Captain America. Again, we're one step closer now to getting the return of the X-Men in these Marvel movies. So I'm very excited for that, and that was a great teaser as well. Let's see. So yeah, there's a lot that I think was really enjoyable about this film. I had a good time at the movies. There's, Marvel movies are known for being jokey, very family friendly in terms of appeal. And this one wasn't as funny as other entries, which is fine. Not everything needs to be a joke fest galore. But there's one part that wasn't played for a laugh that made me laugh. And again, kids, spoilers if you made it this far, but there's this super soldier named Isaiah Bradley. And at one point, he tries to assassinate the president. He tries to assassinate Harrison Ford's uh, President Ross character. And as he's escaping the White House, he jumps, he like jumps over a railing, vaults over the side of all that stuff, and he travels like 50 feet in 3 seconds because he's a super soldier. He's jumping and flipping and rolling and whatever, and and Sam Wilson, Captain America, who again is depowered, he has no super soldier serum. He's chasing down um, Isaiah Bradley, and whereas Isaiah Bradley can jump over these railings and fly down these stairs and move at great speeds, Captain America, to keep up with him, he has to take the stairs. And so getting to see him do that kind of quick jogging motion down the steps of the White House, I just thought was funny because again, if it were Steve Rogers, if it were Chris Evans, Captain America,
they would both be running as fast as a moving car. But with Anthony Mackie and Sam Wilson, he just runs at the pace of a very healthy, very athletic man. So he's doing the best that he can there. But yes, despite me saying how much I love this film is not without fault, and I won't go into too deep a detail on that because I don't want to tear this thing down, because where's the fun in that? But one thing that really stuck out to me that is sadly prevalent throughout the whole film is the dialogue. The dialogue in this is not great. It's really bad at some points too, and I think that this has to do with the film going through multiple reshoots and redrafts. I think the script could have used some revisioning. It could have been written a little better. So yes, there is some very clunky wooden dialogue that's very exposition heavy, very much holds your hand throughout the film, which in some instances I was actually thankful for because there were some things I was like, well, wait, what? Like I was like, I need a refresher. Like what just happened and what's going to happen? And then the film would say, this just happened, this is going to happen, and I was like, oh, okay, thank you. So there was some hand holding in this film that I needed and that I appreciated. But yeah, the dialogue could have been better. It's by no means top shelf Marvel in terms of writing. And overall, this is not top shelf Marvel as a film. I think this is more middle of the pack to upper middle. Again, it's not bad. I did not dislike this movie. I actually really enjoyed it. So yeah, so whatever you see online saying this movie's garbage and it's the end of Marvel and how could they do this and it's a catastrophe, and whatever. You gotta think, well, that guy on the Far Out podcast, he really liked it, so maybe it's worth checking out. So yeah, Captain America: Brave New World, I really enjoyed it. It exceeded my expectations. My mom said she liked it too. So yeah, I highly recommend you go out to the theater and check that out. So yeah, there's that.
Anyway, moving on, but jumping back just slightly, because I want to talk about sports some more. Kids, football season has come and gone. The superb owl has passed. And now that we're approaching the spring and summer months of the year, that means that baseball is right around the corner. And kids, if you don't know this about me, baseball is my favorite sport and is also my first love in terms of sports. And my favorite team is the Minnesota Twins. And if you know anything about the Twins, it's that despite us now being in this era of streaming, with everything available to us, the Twins have been relegated to standard TV and cable packages. So, unless you had DirecTV or Dish or whatever, you couldn't watch them as a team. And it made it very hard for fans like me to follow them throughout the season and experience them, and it's been frustrating. However, now in 2025, as spring training gets underway, the Twins have announced that they are entering the world of streaming with their own package called Twins TV. And for $99 a year, we can now follow the Twins game in and game out via streaming. And I'm very excited about this. I'm very thankful for this because, again, it's been such a hassle to follow the team because if you're like me, who has been cutting the cords over the years to watch the Twins, I've had to like go out to bars to follow them, which is fine. Going out to a bar every now and then is fine and good. But for baseball, they play games almost every gosh darn day for months. As much as I'd love to go to a bar that often to watch the team, it gets expensive. So it's like thankfully now I'll have an option to watch my team at home with Twins TV. So yes, as spring training gets underway, catchers and pitchers have reported Twins TV is now available to purchase for $99 a year. And I'm very thankful of that. And I hope that for any listeners out there who are also Twins fans, you consider signing up. So yeah, baseball is right around the corner, baby, and it can't get here fast enough. Anyway, moving on, but keeping it with TV still, and especially in terms of streaming, uh, kids. If you also don't know this about me, whereas the Twins are my favorite thing in terms of baseball, what's my favorite thing in terms of gaming is the franchise and series known as Halo. And very simply, the way Star Wars blew my mind in terms of sci fi and did what it did for me with movies, Halo blew my mind for sci-fi and did what it did for me in terms of video games. So for me, the upper echelon of movies is Star Wars. The upper echelon for me in terms of gaming is Halo. Those are two brands that no matter what they do, I will follow them. They have me by the wallet, and I'm very okay with that. And recently, there was a series, a TV series, a live action TV series for Halo, and it was okay at best. It had its moments of good. I mean, it looked really good. There was some great action. But for any of you that know Halo, who have played Halo, who are deep in Halo, if you have any understanding of it, you have an idea of what the story in the world is. Most notably, is that the Master Chief, the main character, very Mandalorian-esque in his presentation because he is someone who never takes off his helmet, or if he does, it's very, very rare. So Master Chief is a man of few words and is always inside his big green suit of armor. And in the Halo TV series, the live action rendition of Halo, not only is Master Chief a big yapper, he's also out of his armor a lot, and he even does the dance with no pants. So, yes, the Halo series, despite me saying that this brand, this franchise has me by the wallet and I will follow them anywhere, even I, being the big Uber fan that I am, I have to admit, the series was okay at best. And because it was okay at best, even for a diehard fan like me, the series was canceled after 2 seasons. This was made by Paramount Plus, Paramount Plus. This was one of their big things that when they launched their streaming network, they said, we're bringing Halo to our service. And it worked. It did. It made me get the Paramount network. I bought the streamer just to watch the Halo show. So there, boom, their marketing was genius. They got my money. Um, but the series was canceled after 2 seasons. Despite me saying the show was okay at best, season two I thought was better than season one, and I thought they left it on a good plateau for what could be an even better season three. Again, the bar wasn't very high to begin with, but still, we were making steps in the right direction. So the series get canceled. I give kind of a quiet, sad-ish, mourning process, because again, it was okay. But I went, oh, dang it, I want to see Halo succeed, not fail, so whatever. Well, now there's talks that the show could be revived because Netflix has paid for some streaming rights of it to appear on their network, Netflix. So again, despite this being a Paramount made, Paramount driven, Paramount original show, it's now going to Netflix. And to give you some kind of comparison to it, this would be like a Netflix original like Stranger Things appearing on Hulu. Why would you put a Netflix original on a different streamer? Why not just have it in your own home base to pull subscribers and audiences to your streamer? Paramount as a studio, as a company, hasn't always been in the best in terms of finances. So I'm thinking that they think they can get money out of this even a little bit. So Netflix said, "Yep, we'll take the Halo show." But this brings up some interesting points here because the deal is not clear to me in terms of what Netflix is doing. I don't know if they're getting the Halo show just in terms of certain markets. I don't know if Paramount and Netflix are sharing it, meaning that if you were to get Paramount Plus and Netflix, you could watch either one to experience the Halo show, whereas before it was just Paramount. And I'm also not aware if Netflix is literally buying the whole thing full cloth, meaning that Paramount would remove it from their streamer despite it being a show they originally made. Okay, let's break this down. Netflix clearly has interest in the Halo property regardless of the deal because they're shelling out money saying we want this on our platform for whatever reason. They think that there's a lucrative business deal to be made having it there. Okay, now let's examine the biggest of the options. Let's say Netflix went to Paramount and said, we want this whole cloth. Take it off your network, sell it to us.
we're going to have it as a Netflix exclusive. Okay. If they did that, they're going to want some return on that investment. And I think that if they were to do this, there's a potential now for a season 3 to happen of the show. Netflix does have some prior experience in terms of reviving canceled shows by scooping them up and putting them on their own service and doing a continuation or sometimes a final season. I believe they did that with the show Manifest, as well as one other that now escaped me. But they have a precedent of doing this sometimes, of taking a canceled show, bringing it to Netflix, and then doing a continuation of sorts. So could this happen with Halo? Yes, it could. Yeah, it absolutely could. Despite the show not being very well received critically, it did have a lot of eyes on it. It did, at least the initial season, because people were curious. I imagine, sadly, that viewership declined during season 2, hence why there was a cancellation, and Paramount did not pursue with a continuation themselves. However, if Netflix sees some kind of interest in the Halo show somewhere, they may continue it. And so there could be a season 3 on the way. And now this begs the question, would I want a season 3? Do I think they should do it? Uh, yes and yes. Because again, despite me thinking this show was okay at best, uh, season 2 left it on better footing than season 1. And Netflix has a good pedigree with their series. They make really good television. Paramount, not so much, sadly, despite me loving the agency. Uh, but yeah, I want to see Halo continue, and more live action Halo to me is just like sugar. So I'll take any version of that, period. So yeah, I would love a season 3 of Halo because I think you could right the wrongs of this series and then excel in making it the best thing it could be, which I believe is a more faithful adaptation to the source material. I don't need it exactly like the games because I have the games, I can go play them. But case in point, in the games, Master Chief is always in his armor, usually for very important plot reasons, because again, you don't want to be vulnerable when you're fighting aliens. And he's usually pretty quiet because he's on task, and that's just how he is as a character. Plus, you can also get really nerdy, and if you're like, well, the reason why he's super quiet is because he's a super soldier, and his whole mind got kind of scrambled and all that stuff, you know, during that process. So yeah, again, in the Paramount show, they take him out of his armor, make him a really yapper, and he has relations with a female. So Netflix could write this ship potentially with a season 3. So hopefully this leads to good things. At the very least, at a pure minimum, this will hopefully get more eyes on the show, even with just its first 2 seasons, with it being on Netflix, because Netflix has more subscribers than Paramount does, which means that more eyeballs get onto Halo as a brand, which means more people would play Halo, and then the brand succeeds, and then I get happy because I can have more stuff of theirs to buy. So yeah, but yeah, Halo the series going to Netflix in one way or another, potentially a season 3 coming. So we'll see. Anyway, I want to close out the show with some more Halo talk because I love Halo so much, and I've got big plans for this podcast here, kids. I have a lot of different film avenues I want to take this in. I want to do reviews and film analyses, pardon my French, and then I also want to do film commentaries. And yes, kids, for me, those are 3 different things. And so I have big plans in terms of that. I experimented with doing music reviews and album review when I reviewed Logic's Aquarius 3 project. I'm working on another album review right now. And, I want to talk about more books and stuff. And I want to talk about games as well. And like I said, I love Halo. Love Halo. I intend to go very deep on Halo over the course of the life of this podcast here. But while I don't want to get real deep into it right now, what I do want to say is I've been really enjoying Halo lately. I've been playing some of the classic Halos with my friends, being Halo 2, and I've also been playing the latest Halo, known as Halo Infinite, and with my friends as well. And Halo 2, I mean, it's a classic game. It came out in 2004, meaning it's now over 20 years old, which is crazy to think about. But that thing still holds up. The music is amazing. The combat loop is amazing. The mechanics are great. The world is fun. You want to explore. It's just a blast. It's just a blast to play. And this was the game. Well, this was one of the games I grew up with when I played with my dad. We played classic couch co-op split screen. It was just some of the best memories I have in my entire life. And now to this day, my friends and I are still playing Halo 2, despite it being 20 years old. We are going for a legendary campaign run. And kids, if you know anything about Halo 2 and its legendary difficulty, not only is that the most difficult in terms of, you know, uh, combat level, and hard difficulty, but it's also the most punishing in that you have to be. This is not, I'm going to sit back and relax. It's like, no, if you're going to play Halo 2 on Legendary, you have to sit up, lean forward, and focus. And for years, despite me being the uber fan of Halo that I am, I said, I'm never going to play this because it's just too hard. I'm just not that good. But my best friend was like, we can do it. And so now we're finally, after all these years, working through a Halo 2 Legendary run. And we're slowly but surely making it. And it's fun. It's really great to revisit that series with one of my best friends in the whole wide world and just play this classic game. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then with Halo Infinite, that's the latest title in the series. And look, again, despite me being the super fan, I will very easily admit Halo Infinite did not meet expectations in a lot of different ways. The game was undercooked in some areas. It was missing very key and fun features of the series that I think were meant to be staples, so on and so forth. Again, very simply, uh, campaign, co-op, split screen. The mode that I played with my dad when I was a kid on the original Xbox that made me a fan, the mode that made me a fan of the series, is not in Halo Infinite for the campaign. That right there, I think, is a big crime against the series, and for a lot of different reasons, for for that plus other stuff, people have sadly jumped ship on Halo Infinite as a title, as the next chapter in the series, and I don't blame them because again, the game can be very frustrating, just in terms of the way it's played and handled and the way it's been managed, but it can also be a lot of fun. And lately, I've had more fun, and I'm very thankful to say that. So, if you're someone who loves Halo and was looking forward to Halo Infinite, and perhaps feels that it's not your cup of tea, or that it's boring, or that it's bad, or you just got burned out by it, however long you've taken a break off it, I would really encourage you to pick it back up again. Because it hasn't lost me. I've played it day in, day out since release, but I know people who have taken weeks or months off of it. And if you're someone who is like that, I encourage you to pick up Halo Infinite again. It's only gotten better with each update, and to me, it's a lot of fun. It offers a great Halo experience. And also, kids, the multiplayer is free. It is a free, that portion of the game is free. So if you want to download Halo Infinite's multiplayer and hop in and play some games with me or whoever, try Oddball, Capture the Flag. It's totally free. You can do that. And then if you want to explore the campaign, what I think is a great story and a great world to explore, you got to pay for that. But I think it's very much worth the price. So yeah, the Halo universe as a whole is something that I just love and adore. And for me, it offers the most fun in terms of gaming, and it's something that I intend to cover more in depth as the podcast goes on. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to not only the classic games, but to also the most current game. And yeah, I just want people to just play Halo. And if you want to play with me, well, that's great. Drop a comment down below. Let me know. But that's my show for this time around, kids. I want to thank you for checking out the Far Out podcast, and I hope you had a good Valentine's Day, and I hope you are also looking forward to baseball, and I hope you have a good time at the movies if you go out at the movies, and I hope somewhere, some way, somehow, someday, I will see you on the Halo battlefield. All right, have a good one. Peace.